feeling free and it feels so right. Oh, time to do the things I like. Gonna see a princess, everything's alright. Oh, no job but an answer to. Ain't a fixture in the palace zoo. No, and since the carpet nights off me, I'm living life now that I'm free. Yeah, told me get myself together. Now I got myself together. Now I made it through the weather. Better days are gonna get better. I'm so happy the current night is gone. I'm moving on. I'm so happy that it's over now. The pain is gone. I'm putting on my shades to cover up my eyes. I'm jumping in my ride.
There we go. Yeah, I forget. We missed the beginning of it. I was bad.
Oops.
I was too busy. So welcome to those who are watching it. We're going to talk Mandalorian lore, right? Instead of Mandalorian. I mean, we'll probably talk Mandalorian anyway.
Yeah. Mandalorian lore, or just Mando lore,
or
all of the above,
or Boba Fett. If we just started like the people that aren't quite as ingrained in it as us, that's just Boba Fett. Like just whatever they see, hey, that's Boba Fett. Like I remember the first time Zoe wore Sabine. She was pink Boba Fett. So, and the first time we saw Daniel Logan, it was before he knew who Sabine was. He thought she was pink Boba Fett. We tried to explain to him who Sabine was, and now everyone knows who Sabine is. From a show, I was talking to a guy at work, and he's like I don't want to be like gatekeeper, like we're super fans, but he's like Star Wars fan, like, you know, when he sees the stuff I have, his jaw just drops open. He's, you know, like, and I was telling him about Rebels. I said, look, because he's really enjoying Mando, and I said, yeah, you got to watch Rebels. I mean, you know, he said that kid show. I said, just watch Rebels. John,
speaking of that kid show,
it is. Look, Ken's getting ready to go swimming.
Well done.
Now, Ken, where did you purchase that? Is that the Amazon?
Did.
Is that the Amazon one, or is that
this is the AliExpress one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, because Amazon has one for like $30 some too, or whatever.
Oh, I think you mentioned that the last time after I had already purchased it. And
it's probably.
I want to tell you guys I did it. I just wanted to surprise you with it.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean they're the same thing. They're all the same makers. I
keep thinking about it because I'm like they're going to have the inaugural running right after the Andor panel, but I'm like, I just don't feel like carrying one more thing with me.
It's light.
It's super light.
But
I mean, it goes into a little package this big.
Yeah, maybe I should. I got to figure it out sooner rather than later.
The only thing about there's no pockets, so you need some sort of a satchel.
Well, I'll just get a fanny pack. Just go, you know.
There you go.
A Mandalorian man bag.
Yeah, man bag. Yeah. See, because I think I'm going to pack Zoe Sabine to get back onto our Mandalorian topic, because I have this feeling when she gets over there and she sees all the Sabines, she's not going to be happy.
But isn't she bringing Ahsoka?
Yes, but this is the father in me. This is how I enjoy my life, is making sure I can do everything possible to help my kids. So I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. I'm like, well, I could just wear one pair of pants for 5 days. You know, what's worse could happen?
It's like being a teacher.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, not to get into an extended review, but man, that was some good Mando today.
Well, before we do that, I think you want to do hear some of John's news.
Oh yeah, let's let's hear what we've been doing. Let's start with John.
That's later.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can we start with just what Star Wars we did this week?
Yeah, absolutely.
What'd you do, Ken? Besides get that awesome prisoner uniform.
So got this. We went to New York City for a night, and we stayed at the Millennium Hotel, not the Falcon, which I joked about and got punched a couple times because I joked about it with others. Like, you can't go a day without talking about Star Wars, can you? I said, nope, I cannot, and I choose not to. So we stayed there. And last night, I was lucky enough to interview my friend Clem from Sydney for the Rambling Star Wars Fan.
Oh, nice.
And so we did an entire episode on political theory and Andor, and how some of the things that showed up in Andor also have shown up in the real world with, different political writers and authors over time. So it was probably my most academic episode I've ever done.
Nice.
And I've also got a couple more interviews in the works. Plus, tomorrow night, I'm going to be interviewing Demetrius from the forces behind Star Wars. So I interviewed Anthony a couple weeks ago. Tomorrow night, I get to interview Demetrius.
Wonderful.
Yeah. How about you? What did you do this week, Star Wars, Mike?
Well, I went and saw Return of the Jedi. So that was about my I had other Star Wars plans, but that tree kind of wrecked that. But we went to see Return of the Jedi in an old theater, 100-year-old movie theater, me and Safi. And it was pretty cool. Like,
and that was the one in Delaware?
Huh?
Was that in Delaware?
Yeah, it was a troop, which I knew I couldn't make it because I got home from work, and Friday was Zoe's first day as a substitute teacher, so she rode with me, and so I got home a little later because elementary gets out and we rode together. They get out later than us, so I got home late, and I was like, Missy had like 2 books she wanted to read, and so I said, well, I'm going to go down here and see the Return of the Jedi, and I said to Safi, well, Zoe's like, nah, she was tired and she had stuff to do. And I said to Safi, and Safi said, do they have popcorn? I was like, yep. So she went, and it was good. I mean, the one thing though, and this is no criticism. I'm not trying to be a criticism of Star Wars, but I wonder these people that criticize plot points in every new movie that Disney makes. Luke's rescue plan has to be the worst. It would be like the worst Ocean's 11 movie ever. Like, you think for his plan to work, he needed beyond luck and the Force. Because he had to give them the droids with his only weapon hidden in it. And then he had to hope that they didn't search R2, or scrap him. So they had to hope that they were going to put him on the top floor of the sail barge. And they weren't going to just, there's so many things had to happen for that, which we all love. But I'm saying, and then people were getting mad because Daisy Ridley could fly a spaceship or something. You know what I mean? Like,
well, even like to add on to that part, so you had Luke's rescue plans with the droids. Well, how about Lando, Leia, and Chewbacca? Like, how do all of these plans come together? They all be at the same place at the same time, doing whatever it was that they were doing.
Right. I think Lando would have went either way. Like,
just
I think
to wear that cool
he was
mask.
Just like waiting. Well, you know what? If the rescue doesn't work out, I can always work as a skiff guard.
Or a baseball catcher.
Yeah. Yeah,
because I think that helmet, that hat he was wearing was originally a catcher's mitt or something, not a baseball glove.
Yeah, well, it's just, which I enjoy it, and but there were so many things in that movie. You could take the worst scathing review of any of the new films. You just change a couple names, and you could find all of those flaws in that movie. Oh, and you can find him in any of the other movies too. I mean, imagine if Luke and Obi-Wan had got to Alderaan 20 minutes earlier. Like, I'm just saying, it's just funny that what people choose to, disbelieve and all that stuff. But it was so much fun watching it, and this theater was like, it was a 100-year-old theater, and I think the seats were from the 70s, those old ones with sloping floor, and that brought memories back because we're so used to the new movie seats. I'm like, man, these things are, now I understand why movies weren't super long back then.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, I was like numb from the waist down. So, but yeah, that was my my Star Wars. Other than, I don't think you were on when I was talking to Ken before we started. Oh, you weren't on, John. But I went on. Fangirls Going Rogue does a Monday night Skype or a Zoom call every other Monday. So I went on there with them. They just have a bunch of people talk round robin and stuff. And they were talking about these upcoming episodes and how good they were. Because the one host, she's on the screeners list. So she's seen all the Mandos and all the Bad Batch, and she was talking about it.
I would love to be on that list.
Yes, I wonder about that, because I always think that that's one of those things that might be a curse in disguise kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because like, as much as like when I watched Mando today, I was like, man, I would just love to just watch them all, but then I know I really wouldn't.
Yeah, but you always have that. It always leaves you wanting more.
Yeah.
So.
And today's episode felt so long and so short at the same time.
100%.
Like, packed so much in.
I mean, really, it felt like 2 episodes in one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because I thought it was going to, about the middles where I thought, they're going to end it now, and then I'm going to have to sit and wait, for.
Yeah, but then they ended it where they did, and now you have to sit and wait.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because like the one part you thought was going to be a cliffhanger wasn't, and so. But yeah, that was my Star Wars for the week. How about you? Do you have any good Star Wars experience? Or is this the news you're gonna wait till Ken's here?
No, that's off-air news.
Oh, okay.
Now my Star Wars for the week. I mean, we had a small get together with a couple of 501st guys. We did dinner on Thursday, and then I got hit with a massive sinus infection the day after. I worked on my Mando a little bit, but nothing too serious.
Cool.
So I got my shoulder bells done.
Yeah, they look good.
Those are ready to go. And then I made my poncho. I don't remember if we talked about that last week.
No, I don't think you did.
Yeah, I mean it's a very square piece with a hole in the middle and then a very rudimentary hood.
Yeah, I like the hoods. Like when they brought what is it, Bo-Katan and
Ursa Wren
with the hoods in those Clone War things.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought that was cool.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going for.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, see, that's more of an excuse so I don't have to finish all of the chest armor before the end of the month. So, because I'm going to bring that with me, just for a few background shots.
Yeah, well, that's what I was trying to. That's the Air Star Wars. I was working on this stuff for Matt, and I was emailing people. Like, people were asking me questions and stuff like that, and I'm trying to be. And I was like, look, just bring whatever you have. Like, if you have a Mando, you might be in a background shot without your bucket. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I don't know what Matt wants, and I don't know if he knows what he wants.
Right
at the moment, and I just want us to have, at the very least, just have a ton of people there. And we do a bunch of photos at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Just knock some photos out. I mean,
right. Like, I'm bringing Kylo. So.
Well, yeah.
So, because I mean, if we're doing pictures at the end like we usually do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That'd be that'd be awesome. I'm trying to see. Oh, Ken's back. We were just talking about. John was talking about his building of his Mando and his. Because what I thought of doing is I thought of getting a poncho, John, and getting that mask from the one brother from the Ahsoka miniseries that was on, the Tales of the Jedi. They have a nice file of that mask, and just do that in a poncho and take that to Celebration. Just take black pair of pants.
The Inquisitor one?
Yeah, that Inquisitor guy. Just print that mask. I forget who has it.
Hang on. I think I actually might have that. Give me 2 seconds here.
But
yeah, so that's my Star Wars. Not a whole lot, but enough.
Does your dad have any more Star Wars in his life?
Nope. No, we've been working on cleaning out our basement, just the same as you.
Nice.
So that's been our project. Because I'm trying to get my 3D printing stuff all in one area, so I can
Yeah.
have a nice little
I'm telling you,
functional workspace.
that makes a big difference. Because when they were up in my office, it was like, okay, if this one's running, I got to move this pile of stuff here. You know what I mean? It was just, you know, like I have a box under my counter. One's marked Mike and one's marked Ken. So every time I print parts, I print them in duplicate. One goes in each box. So
Is this the mask you're talking about? Right?
let me see. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Yeah, let me show. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
I've got it. So if you want, I can send that over to you.
Yeah, I might. Let me get I got a few things. I got to finish this by Friday. I got to finish the Sabine armor next Friday. I just want to finish. I mean, Ahsoka armor. I'm trying to. I got to make the hip armor soft enough that we can pack it. Because I have the files and they're hard plastic. I'm going to try to see what I can modify them just for an easy wear, and then we'll make them better for when, you know, because you don't get any carry-on luggage going.
Is it something that can be made out of EVA foam for the short?
Yeah, is what I think I'm going to do is I 3D printed it. I'm going to use that as a guide, trace it in EVA foam, and then what's it called? Plasti dip it, and then I'll make it.
Yeah, make sure you heat seal it first.
Oh yeah.
Close the cells.
Yeah, but we'll see. I'm liking the Bo-Katan costume more and more every time I see it. For Safi is Bo-Katan.
Hell, I might do it.
It's just
Why not?
It's just a nice set of armor. It's just, you know, and it's just a good. It was just a good redesign. But I'm waiting to see. Well, I will at least by the Easter. I'll know what Sabine looks like because I'm just gonna sit there and look at his phone while we eat and just memorize it in my brain. You know.
And I think with the Bo-Katan, I think folks have made the shield with LEDs in it that can be attached to the bracer with magnets.
Yeah, that was cool. I mean, that was definitely a good scene. Let's see if my mailbox is working here. Yeah, again, I don't know why my inbox does not work on. I mean, my chat does not work on this one. So I don't know. But yeah, so that's our Star Wars update. So Ken, he doesn't have any announcements until after we're off air.
Okay.
So it's going to be an 18-minute show. Okay, hurry up.
Yep. Wrap it up, gentlemen.
So let's start tonight with our intro. And I had a book when we talk about that. When I show this video, I'll get it. But everyone's intro to Mandalore or Mandalorians. Like, what was your intro, John? We'll start with you since you have yours is probably going to be way different than Ken and I's.
Well, I mean, obviously Boba Fett. But really, I did not pay attention to the Mandalorian culture until the Mandalorian came out.
Oh, okay.
You know, because Zoe and I talked about it on my show a little bit, where like I didn't watch the Clone Wars as a kid, so
big fan.
You know, yeah, I know. But so all of the like Pre-Vizsla stuff like that, the Bo-Katan, the Death Watch, all of that didn't really click or like sit with me until the Mandalorian came out and started to expand upon it. So like, I mean, I knew about it. I knew about it when I watched it when I was like 14, 15, the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But didn't pay attention to it until the Mandalorian came out.
How about you, Ken?
So, saw Boba Fett in the original trilogy. I don't remember seeing the holiday special. I would have been 3 when it came out, so I'm not sure if I saw it on television or not. And then just over the years, whether it's read some of the that are now called Legends novels, reading the comic books, and then I remember going to events and seeing people in different Mandalorian costumes. You know, the Mandalorian mercs. The first one that I remember distinctly was used to be called Wizard World.
Yeah,
That would be it.
Yeah.
And then now I think the replacement is Fan Expo or something like that. But it
Yeah.
was at Wizard World Philadelphia, and they had this whole table set up with different weapons, and there were different people in costume. And I took some time to talk to a couple of them, and they had a raffle going on where they were raffling off different toys. It was like almost like baskets, nerd baskets.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this
Nerd.
basket is all these toys. This basket you get a poster and these things and so on. And I remember buying maybe a half a dozen raffle tickets and turning to Heather and say, I don't know why anyone else is going to buy these tickets because I'm going to win. And then came back later on to find out that I had won. I actually won two of the baskets. One that had a yeah, I do. Well, I had the stuff that was in the baskets.
Oh, okay.
You know, the poster, the Boba Fett poster. I think it was one of might have been a Hildebrand print. And then just deciding that I want to make one of these costumes. I want to make something Star Wars related that I can have my own personal flair to. Yes, TKs are awesome and it's fun to whip around a light stick and stuff like that as a Jedi. But for me, there is something special about being able to put your own personal touch flair on a costume so that when you are in a crowd, you can say, that's me distinctly, instead of saying I'm the fourth one to the right next to Vader.
Yeah, that's true.
And how about you, Mike?
Well, my intro. So I watched the holiday special because I was 10 at the time, I think, when it came out, 78, or almost 10, or maybe I don't know. But I fell asleep, so I never saw the cartoon. I didn't see the cartoon till years later. But I remember Boba Fett from the mail order stuff. Like I remember my grandmother. She had it was a glass bowl that had little Scotty dogs on it, and we kept all the matches in there, which, you know, this is back in the 70s. Like, you know, you as a 5 or 6 year old, you'd be like, go get matches for grandma to light her cigarettes, or, you know, light your stove and stuff like that. It wasn't quite as safe as it is nowadays. We had a gas stove that didn't have pilots, so you had to turn it on and light it. Anyway, so we would cut these circles out, and my grandmother, like, I cut them out. They looked like they were chewed out of the box. My grandmother made them, and she saved them until I had enough to mail order for Boba Fett. And like, he was the guy. I don't know how soon we got him, you know, like I know, but I remember he was like the person. He was like my guy for the longest time, you know. Like I didn't know anything about him, you know, because I don't know when I saw Empire compared to when I got it. And then when I saw Empire, I liked him, and then I remember having a poster, and it's here somewhere. It was a poster of Boba Fett. It was one of the Hildebrand cards, I think. It came in I think it came in one of the 90s. I got it in the 90s in one of the magazines. But it had every line that he said in all the movies around the border. You know what I mean? Which was not very much.
So it was like one on each side.
Yeah. And
two of them were repeated.
Yeah. And I just remember, like, I remember when the Hildebrand cards came out, I think they were Star Wars Galaxies or something like that. I carried that. I got one with him. I carried that in my planner. Like, at the time I was a manager, I kept it in, like, you have those little where you put pictures of your family. I didn't have any pictures of my wife. I had that Boba Fett card in there. And then it wasn't until I lucked out when I started trooping there. We had some really good Boba Fetts, like right off the bat when I started trooping. And so I got to troop with some really good Boba Fetts, and then the Mando Mercs came along, and I was just looking. I was like, I know it was whenever the premiere. Did you guys go? You guys probably didn't go to the movies when they released Rebels. They released Rebels in the movie theater.
Yeah, I definitely didn't.
So when they released Rebels in the movie theater, that was the first time I trooped with the Mando Merc. I was looking because I took a picture of one at the movie theater because I was like, I don't really recognize that guy, you know. and it was a Mando Merc, like custom Mando, and I was looking for the picture and I can't find the picture now. But that movie theater troop was the first time I got up and close with a R2 and up and close with a Mando Merc.
Oh,
And
that's
that's
cool.
when I was introduced to the custom Mandos, and then but there was like Mandalorian lore. There was a book, Mandalorian lore. There was Mandalorian lore in the West End games, just a little bit, but I never got much into that as much as I just like Boba Fett, and then who was the fake Boba Fett? They made like
Was that Condo?
Something
Condo
cast?
cast?
Yeah, something like that. So, but that was my intro to him, and there was just like literally they would just have pictures of him, and then the video you sent. Do we want to put that up yet? This video of the original Boba Fett, the white one, I didn't see that until way years later. Like it was probably past the 90s when I saw that video.
It was, for me, it was probably the late 90s when
Yeah.
I saw that, because I do remember, I think it might have been Star Wars Insider, they had done some background on Mandalorians, and I think they even did one where they had some of the pictures of Boba Fett suiting up and stuff, I think.
Yeah. I had
unless
seen.
I saw that on website. Maybe it was on it might have been on the Replica Prop Forum is where I saw it.
Oh, okay. Or the dented helmet. See, the dented helmet was big when I was looking at, because I was looking for a Boba Fett helmet in the early 90s, and this was before the internet was really big. But there was a bulletin board, I think it was a predecessor to the dented helmet. And they
actually might have been, now that I'm talking out loud, it might have even been in the early 2000s that I saw that video for the first time. It might have even been later than I thought.
And pre 3D printing, Boba Fett was one of those costumes I thought I would never even attempt.
Well, and that's pretty funny that you say that, because originally, when you look at the history of Boba Fett, he wasn't, that costume wasn't meant to be for Boba Fett specifically.
Right.
They had intentions of making that the Super Commando.
Yeah.
So that was going to be the next iteration of Stormtroopers. But because it was so involved, they decided not to. So there was a possibility of, 20 or 30 of them up on screen, but they decided not to do that, and instead made it into that Mandalorian guy, that mercenary, and they changed the color scheme to make it look like he had been through some stuff.
Yep.
So the weathering and the battering, even the dent in the helmet and the shot in the crotch.
Yeah, and then they did the parade. Didn't he do the parade with Vader?
Yeah, that was the San Anselmo parade, and that might have been the late 70s. It might have even been before Empire Strikes Back. I know they showed
It was before.
They showed some brief clips of that on the Industrial Light and Magic documentary on Disney Plus.
And his blasters always amaze me, because they made Demetrius had one for sale on his booth, the Screaming model. Did he have the Screaming model when you were at his booth?
Oh, I didn't see that.
He might have sold it, because he had a good price on it. He had the Screaming line. I used to have that model in my store, and when I closed my store, I sold it like it's a bulk thing stuff, and I always regretted selling it. But it was like every Boba Fett back then, they put different blasters in his hand. Like he had the spear gun pistol, and then he had the blaster we're all used to, but then he had that other one that almost looked like a.
Well, it was a lightsaber. The barrel of it was I'm pretty sure it was the same Graflex handle that they used for the lightsaber.
That's the one he uses kind of now, right? There's that weird one that's almost like geometrical in shape. It almost looks like they took that spear gun the pistol he carries and tried to make a rifle out of it. But it's kind of like that blaster that you see the Stormtrooper carrying from New Hope that you never see. The one, you know,
Oh yeah.
there was just a few still photos of with him with this weird looking gun, and then there's a lot of models and toys with it, but you never saw the actual Boba Fett carrying it, and then I think in the white one he carried an Uzi.
No, I think the white one is where he had the one with the lightsaber barrel.
Right, but I think it's built on an Uzi, if I remember correctly. We'll watch the video in a minute.
Yeah, it may have parts of an Uzi.
The white one's a Star Wars Tau. His cape is a Star Wars Tau. Because you know Howard Brown?
Is he the guy that does the Cylon?
Yeah, he has a white, and he's one of those people like he ordered a whole bag of a specific rivet just to make sure he had the original rivet on the, you know.
He's a completist.
Yeah, he's like, you know, well, like Marty has all the for his Marty has a really good Boba Fett too, and he has all the like original like those tools that are in the leg pouches and all that stuff. You know, where again with 3D printing, it's made it so much nicer because it used to be, I think, Boba Fett and Vader were the like the competing for the most expensive costume when I first joined. You know, they'd be like, well, it's like $3,500 for Vader and $4,500 for, you know, back in $07. You know,
and what's interesting and mildly confusing about it is historically when those pieces were out, you know, you could practically give them away now because there's such a demand for it. People know.
Oh
and
yeah,
they'll sell it for hundreds of dollars. Where, you know, in truth, it's worth pennies.
Well, you go like I've been to like flea markets around here. We have flea markets, and you'll go to like a antique camera shop, and they'll have antique cameras that you've never seen that look super rare, and then it's almost like a graph, like everything's relatively cheap, Graflex, and then, you know,
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the stuff that just baffles me.
Yeah,
even those old the video games, the digital video games.
Yep.
You know, they used one of them in the Book of Boba Fett, and now that toy that nobody will really play with anymore is hundreds of dollars on eBay.
Well, and the calculator, you know, the calculator that they use for the keypad on Fett's thing. So, but that's the cool part. Like, I think the Fett costume was one of those costumes when I was a kid. The Stormtrooper always amazed me. I love the Stormtrooper. But the Boba Fett costume, to me, it almost epitomized why I like New Hope was when you saw Boba Fett. He reminded you of like, because New Hope looked lived in, and Boba Fett looked like someone who lived in a lived-in world. You know.
Yep. And to your point earlier about the toys, you know, we saw them on screen for moments. But the stories we made up with the toys in the living room or the backyard or on the school bus,
you
know, that was hours and hours and hours worth of entertainment.
And
we knew nothing about them really.
And Fett was one of the few that stood really well. Like he like 3PO and Fett of the original line, when you look at them standing, they had that beautiful profile. Like when you would put Boba Fett came with the Imperial blaster, you know, the E11. Which makes no sense, but whatever. He came with the E11, and the way it's set in that hand, which I don't think was on purpose, it's a molded hand like this. It almost looked like you know, when you hold your blaster and you're just kind of holding it lightly and it kind of swings forward a little. It's set in his hand like that. I just remember because I would set them up, and C-3PO stood. He looked like C-3PO, the arms bowed back, and I think Boba Fett, because he had a weird center of gravity because he was thicker than most. He just stood so nice the way they had him set, you know. Because, you know, like I never liked the original R2 in the action figures.
The one with the sticker around it.
That big circle always threw me off. You know, they just put that plain old circle on the front.
Yeah.
It just didn't look R2-y to me. To quote Ahsoka. But yeah, that's my intro to Mandalore and just
John, have you seen that video that we've been talking about? That 4-minute clip?
Yeah.
Here, should we put
the screen test?
Yeah.
Should we play it for the folks at home? All right, let me see if I can remember.
We don't own it, so just to let everyone know
YouTube. This is from the YouTubes. Let's see. There we go. Look at that. Let me turn our captions off so we get more bigger screen here. Turn that. There we go. I hope the sound comes through.
Here he is, a new character. Can you speak to us, Boba?
Certainly.
Boba has sort of a radio voice. There's a speaker built into him here. And also there's a certain amount of telemetry going on and a certain amount of feedback for some reason. And why don't you turn around and take a look at you?
In between Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back, of course, there were a lot of, there was a Star Wars TV show, a holiday special that was made. And Boba Fett was designed and was in progress in that time period. This is between Star Wars and Empire. And, Joe Johnson had designed him, and George had approved the designs, and they built a temporary costume to see what it would look like. So we had the costume there in George's house, and we put it on Dwayne right here. Dwayne Dunham, the editor.
Dwayne, do you recall being Boba Fett? Yeah, I was. I baked in that footage of Boba Fett.
This is only a black and white tape, and he looks totally white. The concept of Boba now is going to be a multicolored color. They're going to actually have different colors, basically blue and green, sort of light, muted colors. There's also some electronics on it here. They don't really show up in the sunlight here, but there's some readouts here there's some small electronic numbers and things flashing in the window. This is a rangefinder. Is this what this is here? This tilts down here, and he can look through this device here and sight on various targets and so on. And there's some little optics and some little lights that blink on and off. There's actually two
The
red
fins on the rocket.
Yeah.
a number of different weapons. There's the rifle, the laser submachine gun, more or less. There's a flamethrower here. Why don't we get a close-up of that aspect here? Okay.
His hoses aren't tucked in. Where's the squire
structure
at?
right here? And guess what? There's some igniters in the front here that ignite propane gas, and it'll shoot out. On top, this is a dart throwing device, rather deadly, and there's other mechanics and electronics related to that there. These also shoot some sort of darts, projectiles from each knee. There's pockets down on the front of the legs here to
Look at how the tools sit in front of the
various
knees.
tools and other accessories. Oh yes, on the feet we have these blades that kick out. At one time I thought that's what they were going to be. Or these also spikes just for kicking.
These are little darts that are fire up.
Oh yeah, right here. These four little pins here.
Well, this is some sort of laser gun.
That was taken off, I
from
think.
this little copper end here.
All right.
There's a light that shines
right here. It's like a flashlight. It would be a torch or something.
Flash, yeah. This is his pistol. The back here has a grappling projected from the backpack and goes to wherever it will. This is part of his jetpack. Let me just stand aside.
Sure. Have him turn around and get a shot of the jetpack. You do it,
See
Dwayne?
that gun on his hip? That's the one I was talking about.
Yeah.
He's fighting to keep the lift. He's fighting to stay down when that's on. Another feature will be what.
That's the one that's made out of the
scalps of some of
lightsaber
Boba's
handle.
victims.
It's got a nice one there.
Yeah, that's right. That's a little too short. Which will be hanging down from this shoulder, sort of like a pigtail might. But these would be the locks of hair of various enemies that he's slain in the course of his mercenary duties.
They wanted a character that could make public appearances, and I think Boba was kind of designed as a character between Star Wars and Empire that they could, get the public excited about something new.
Dwayne, how did you get the role? Oh, I just fit the suit. That's all.
Well, look
But,
at him.
but listen, do you know that Boba Fett wore
Look
spurs
at that hair.
That's
in the movie? He was
right.
Then or now?
Ben put spurs on it.
Well,
So
yeah.
listen, when Boba Fett walks down the hallway,
Yeah.
he goes ching, ching, ching.
He didn't have any spurs you could see, but we decided we would.
Put him on anyway.
That's right. I forgot about that.
In that footage, rather than wearing a cape or a serape, he's actually wearing, I think, a Star Wars beach towel. I don't know if it, or a Star Wars blanket.
Yeah. The early suit was a prototype, and so it hadn't been fully developed as it got to be later.
Well, thank you very much.
See, one of the reasons why I love that footage so much is it just shows so clearly and completely.
There we go. It went straight to the cartoon on YouTube.
That they weren't done. Like they were still working things out along the way.
Isn't that how all of us are when we're building our costumes?
Well, that's how we are. But I mean, when you listen to some of the criticisms about things like, oh, they didn't have a plan, or like they were literally making it up as they went. They were, you know, even when they did get to that time where they were filming things, they were making some changes either because the people in the costume couldn't do what the script called for, or they just came up with a different storyline along the way. So, and the level of creativity that went into that costume in that time period is remarkable. And folks today, like you said earlier, Mike, are looking for the little bits and pieces that are authentic to that time, so that they can make their costume all the more screen accurate or historically accurate.
Yeah,
like someone would do a Civil War, you know, military costume.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the fun. Again, that's where I so love 3D printing, because it's opened it up so much to people that couldn't have made a Boba Fett. Because pre 3D printing, see, John was not in any of the groups, but pre 3D printing, everyone was beholden to whoever happened to be able to make the stuff. You know, and the prices, like it was tough to get Boba Fett parts, because there would be people doing a run. Like they'd be like, okay, I'm doing a run of Boba Fett helmets, you know, and you got on a list, and you might have to wait 6, 8, 12 months to get a helmet kit. And I bought a Boba Fett helmet kit for a while. I had it. I bought one right when I joined. I bought a Boba Fett helmet kit, and it was a good kit. And then I started looking at the price of everything else. I'm like, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to do all this. So I wound up selling it, you know, because it just seemed prohibitive at the time. I mean, I know Ken's wife and my wife will probably be in a support group in a couple years of my husband's talk Star Wars too much.
Well, talk Star Wars too much, buy too much Star Wars stuff. What I think is kind of funny about it is, on one hand, at least Heather, with me, oh, you talk about it too much, you buy too much stuff. And then there are times where I come home like, look what I found for you. Like,
oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think what's the fun part to bring it even into the Mandalorian stuff, and because my wife will watch the Mandalorian, what the fun part is, no one can, if you have a good marriage partner, family, whatever, you couldn't do this if your partner wasn't supporting you. You know, I mean, just I mean, they joke around about it and stuff, like, you know, but it's just like Missy knows more about Star Wars than probably most people, just by the sheer having to listen to, you know, us ramble on.
Well, absolutely. So I don't know if you guys have watched it yet or not, but on Disney Plus, they have this series that's going on now connected to Wakanda Forever.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the episodes, they were talking about the making of the music and everything. And Ludwig Göransson was involved in the music for Wakanda Forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so we start watching it, and the guy comes up like, do you know who that is? She's like, no. I'm like, he did the music for The Mandalorian. And Heather looked at me like, of course you would know that.
Well, you know, he's next to John Williams, he's pretty much the only music person I really know their name. Like, I know, what's the guy, Kiner? Is it Kiner?
Kevin Kiner? There's a couple Kiners that were involved.
And it's all the Star Wars people. Like, I don't really care about music other than that. Like, you know.
Not even Hans Zimmer? Hans Zimmer? He does all of Christopher Nolan stuff.
Oh, I don't. I got to keep a narrow focus, or I'll forget.
And now, because of these new live action shows, there are so many more people involved in the music.
Oh yeah.
You know, whether you're talking about Nick Bertel that did the music for Andor, and the folks who did the music for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show and stuff like that.
Well, I just remember watching The Mandalorian when they did the behind the scenes, and they had the one with the guy from the music. And I just remember thinking, how many teachers and friends of that poor kid's parents probably say, what are you letting him learn these stupid instruments for? What's he ever? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And now he's sought after, and he
That's
actually
what I mean, like,
he went to school with Ryan Coogler. They both went to USC together.
yeah.
So that's where they met, and that's how they that's how they got involved with the Wakanda Forever and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean it's and the Mandalorian stuff again with the small like the books with the Mandalorian language, the Mandoa. Like if you ever listen to the old episodes of the Wookiee Gunner, Jonah Marie Macias, she was a big Mandalorian person. Like she learned how to write and speak in Mandoa and stuff like that. If you listen to some of our old podcasts, another great podcaster that doesn't podcast enough. But yeah, the I don't know that, and in Clone Wars it brought it back. Like I'm watching this new one, and I'm having like, especially after like being on that show Monday, I'm like, oh, maybe they're right, because I'm like, they're like, could the armorer be Satine? Could she have survived? Could her reasoning for not being able to is the reason she has that you can't take your masks off not because she cares, but she doesn't want people to know who she is? I was like, I never thought of that, and I was like, well, that sounds like a Ken theory. When they were talking about it, I was like, that sounds like something Ken would make me start believing in.
It's Marva. It's really Marva Andor. That's what.
There you go. No, but I mean, I'm saying like that. But she has horns on her helmet, like
Maul.
So she could be someone associated with Maul. Who was that other woman that was associated with Maul? I think that
Asajj Ventress.
No, the one Mandalorian. Wasn't there a Mandalorian in the Siege of Mandalore?
Yes, and I can't recall if they ever named that character or not.
Or are we going to get a storyline where there was like a Mandalorian that helped betray the Mandalorians to the Empire, and the armorer is that person?
Maybe, but that one seems
like
unlikely.
Trying to atone.
Well, I think one of the things that they've been, from where I sit right now, that I think they're planting seeds for is some of these other Mandalorian factions somehow showing up and being involved in either this season or the next season of The Mandalorian. Because she had mentioned that, Bo-Katan mentioned the different factions and stuff, and we've now been to 3 planets, or we've been to 2 planets, and they pointed out the moon of Concordia.
Yeah. Zoe was all she was all about that. So yeah, it's just again it's that Mandalorian. Like I wonder is like we have the Tusken Raiders in Mandalorian that give us that learning of how to treat indigenous people. So there's a generation that like I grew up watching the old Westerns, and at a certain point in my life, I was fearful that Native Americans were going to come kill our family. You know what I mean? Like if you watch those old Westerns, man, it was like they were going to come get you all the time. And that's a terrible way to, as a kid. And I wasn't the generation it was meant for. I just happened to live with my grandparents, so that's what we watched. But now we have a generation with Tusken Raiders teaching how indigenous people are just as diverse as everyone else. There's good tribes and bad tribes and this and that. So I wonder, like, where does the Mandalorian culture and theme fit into our psyche? Like what piece does that click into?
Yeah, and I think that's to be exposed. Because they are spending much more time with just Mandalorian. So these 2 episodes, you didn't see anything about the Empire. You didn't see stormtroopers. You heard about the Jedi, but you didn't see them. They've been really, really, really heavy. Centrally focused on just Mandalorians, which is awesome.
They didn't film this in the volume. They filmed it on Mandalore this time. For all those people that were hating on the volume from last time, they really filmed it on Mandalore. So, but yeah, it was you know, again, I have the white, this one here, which is you know, the prototype one we just saw, even though technically it isn't, because they just painted it white over the battle damage. You go Kenner, or you go Hasbro, or
Yeah, so I've got my Kennex,
yeah,
and then next to it I've got the Black Series Boba.
yeah. I have the. Is that the same one I have? Is that the?
It's definitely possible.
Yeah, just lighting. I should move this Sabine. That's a terrible Sabine helmet. That's the one we first bought. That's a terrible.
It's a placeholder.
Yeah, no, the good ones are up there. Enemy prop.
So on the way to New York City, one of the things that Heather said on the way while we're driving up, she's like, "I was this close to getting the Night Owl helmet from Target the other day."
What? They have a Night Owl, or she meant?
Yeah, you can get Bo-Katan's helmet at Target.
See, I don't have any around here because I am going to buy one of those. I when I see one. I thought you were going to say that you need to next time you're going that you guys need to go to Jordan's shop. Like it can't be that far from you.
It's probably just as far as New York City. It's like 2 hours if I had to guess.
Ken, it is worth just you talking to Jordan. Like I would be a fly on the wall to hear that.
Yeah, well, this was a special trip. This was celebration of our anniversary. And
I have my 30th anniversary this year.
Over what month?
August.
Oh, fantastic!
Who knows what we're doing, but I'll figure something out.
But yeah, I definitely want to make a special trip up to spend some time with Jordan.
Yeah, I want to go up and it's just for me. So it's 2.5 3 hour drive.
One way.
One way
out.
And then usually him and I wind up talking way longer than I mean to, and then it's another 3. Like what I'd like to do my next time is I'd like to go early, hang with him for a while, and then come down and stop at Jay and Silent Bob's shop. Because
they moved it. They have a new shop.
Yeah, they moved it like 3 doors down, and they put in the back. They put the front facade of the video store and the convenience store.
Oh, that's funny.
You see people standing in front of it. A lot of those are from inside that store. Like if it has the thing hang, because I took the girls to the real one and we took pictures. But yeah, so I want to go down to the new shop.
So do you guys want to get into any spoilery stuff about these 2 episodes that we have so far?
Before we do we have anything else to say about Mandalorians in general?
Well, one thing that is fun about them is you now have two groups or 2 batches of information available to you. So you have the new stuff, whether you're talking about the animated shows or these new live action shows, and you have the legend stuff. So the novels and the comics, and whether the novels and comics are canon or not, I don't think really matters. You can still enjoy them for what they are. And there's a trilogy of Mandalorian books. It was focused on Boba Fett, and they are wildly weird and wonderful at the same time.
Yeah,
so
Boba Fett is one of those true unique Mandalorians in the sense that we really don't know. We know like touch points of his life, but we don't have a good bulk of things.
Yeah. And so I've talked to people who say, "Oh, I don't want to read that stuff because it's not canon." Like, do you enjoy reading stories? Because if you enjoy reading stories, read these stories. I mean, there's no rule that says you can't enjoy these stories for what these stories are, just because you may not see it, live on a TV or in a movie. They're still enjoyable stories.
Well, and also what's really nice is since they made things legends, just the word legend tells you a whole bunch of things. It tells you it could be true, it might not be true, it could be embellished, and I think what they're doing with the new Mandalorians, because they're spreading them out, we never heard of foundlings ever. Like they just made that new. So you could take any of that other than some of the specific Boba Fett stuff, you know. But a lot of that Boba Fett stuff, I don't think would have held up if they would have went with some of those Boba Fett lines that they wanted to go with, you know, like the old Chewie lines. When we were younger, basically you were basically told Chewie was almost like a glorified slave. He had a life debt, and he was just stuck with Han because Han.
Yeah, an indentured servant. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so they kind of shaved the edges off of that and made that a much better storyline.
And see, I think that's one of the benefits that we have of the longevity of Star Wars. You know,
Yeah.
because there is so much room to grow forward, and there's so much room in between these things, whether we're talking about the movies or the shows, that we can now put more things in between to fill in those gaps and to explain the characters that may have shown up on screen for 5 or 10 minutes. Now we have an entire seasons about some of these characters.
Yep. Yeah. All right, we want to talk spoilers.
What do you think, John?
I'm all for it.
Spoilers away. All right. What was it? What was the title of this one?
The Mines of Mandalore.
Mines of Mandalore. Well, that pretty much spoils it. If you're I wonder where they're going.
So there's two things about this episode that have me scratching my head trying to figure out. Number one, what was that creature robot thing driving the larger creature robot thing?
Yeah.
And number two, what is it with now crocodiles or alligators being so important? So last episode there was the ginormous alligator that attacked the armorer.
Yeah.
And in this episode, there are smaller crocodile things that have wings with glowy eyes. So reptiles are, part of Mandalore or whatever.
Did you ever hear the story of the Wild West movie, the new one with Will Smith, that was out, 10 years ago?
Oh, I've watched that movie several times.
Did you ever hear the backstory of how what some of the stuff that got made?
No.
So one of the producers, I believe, or someone in the higher up, had just gone on a field trip with his son, his elementary age son, and learned about spiders. And this guy was so fascinated with spiders, that's what got pushed into like the big steam powered spider. So I wonder if like was someone higher up, like they just were in the Everglades or something. I was like, we need more alligators.
They just went to Gator Town or whatever it is in Florida.
Yeah.
Gatorland, that's what it is.
Yeah, but that's what I wonder. Like, I still wonder if that ceremony where they almost got eaten, I still wonder if that was part of the ceremony. Like, you have to get bathed in this water that has dangerous creatures in it. You know what I'm saying? Like that was like part of the because they were all armed and ready. It wasn't like they showed up just with their helmets and their suits on.
Yeah, their Sunday best.
Yeah. So I just wonder if that's part of the because a lot of rituals and ceremonies in any religious thing usually started for a different purpose or wound up, like even our fairy tales. Like you tell these kids these scary fairy tales because you just don't want them going out in the woods at night and getting lost, So you have a troll under every bridge, so your kids aren't going to run over the bridge,
Or an old lady who feeds you candy just to fatten you up so she can cook you in her oven.
Right.
Well, I don't know. There's a possibility because if we go further into the episode, the place where they did this ceremony on Mandalore, the little plaque that was written in Mandoa, and lo and behold, this is probably the biggest spoiler of the entire episode. What was in the water?
Right. A mythos. Yeah. What?
A freaking mythosaur.
Yeah.
What was your reaction when you saw that?
I never thought of the mythosaur as a water animal.
I said the same thing.
I didn't think so either.
I thought of it living in a cave somewhere.
Yeah, I pictured it
not necessarily an underground or an underwater cave, but
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I just wonder if that's their culture. Like if you look at did they have these bodies of water all over that had these animals in them? So the only time they let you near it is when you have an armed force. So they made a ritual out of it, and it kept kids out of the water. You couldn't have kids wandering in and getting eaten up all the time. So you make the water a ceremony. But yeah, that guy and also that guy, that guy in that little robot thing reminded me of Grievous in Grievous's lair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even sort of kind of the way he moved reminded me of Grievous. How he kind of contorted around.
He just drains Mandos of their liquid to keep him. I just assumed to keep himself alive. Right?
Probably.
Because at first I thought he was going to cook him. I thought, is he cooking him out of his armor? Like you just cook him and then when I was like, oh no, they're gonna like drain him. So.
And I'm curious. Look, how come Din couldn't use any of his gauntlet gadgets?
Well, I thought maybe that thing shocked him. I thought maybe that thing it almost like stung him because he seemed like paralyzed or something when he was.
Well, if you watch when he first gets, trapped in the cage, one of those spikes goes into his neck underneath his helmet.
Oh,
so
I
would assume that's some sort of paralyzing agent.
I don't think I caught that part.
Yeah, I assumed he was somewhat paralyzed.
I watched the episode 3 times today already, so I was paying attention to the minor details.
Yeah, and I like it was neat to see Bo-Katan because I missed Bo-Katan, the Bo-Katan we first met when they landed on that ship and basically just destroyed those guys on that boat. I missed that fighting Bo-Katan.
The badass Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like the disgruntled Bo-Katan.
The moody Bo.
But I was just happy. Like I don't know. I just think they did Grogu justice. They did her justice. And then on top of that, she still give him the sword back.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought that they were going to use that as the excuse as to why she got it back. It's like, well, this cyborg creature defeated Din. I defeated the cyborg creature. Darksaber's mine again. I technically won it in combat.
Yeah, I think what'll happen though is if you watch how she handled the Darksaber, knowing that Din's not good at it at all, I could almost see them playing the mentor apprentice role in terms of her teaching Din how to wield this, how to use this, and her winning it back later on in some other way or some other fashion.
I still think we're going to have major flashbacks of her, how she lost it. Because I think her biggest problem isn't that he has it, but that she lost it in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think.
Well, and think about some of the ripple effects of her losing it. So in last episode, we heard her say that, my forces left me.
Yep.
My forces left me when I no longer had this sword to lead them.
Well, that's where I think Din is going to. I think Din is going to break. I think he's going to differentiate tradition from superstition. Like at the end, I think he somehow is going to be that unifier and say, "Look, Bo-Katan, fought this, did this. She should be your leader." And he's going to, because she was right. You can still go to the planet. She's the only one saying you can still go to Mandalore. And
even though she tried to talk him out of it.
Right.
Mandalore has been.
Now, how does he prove that does he have to take a selfie at the water's edge or?
I think he records a TikTok. He records a TikTok.
Does a dance in a bathing suit.
Yeah.
I think he steals the plaque. Just take the plaque right off the wall.
Yeah.
It's gonna vandalize.
Cut it out with the lights. Just cut it out with the Darksaber just to like double down on the armorers. Here I have
I stole.
Yeah, and I just cut this sign out of here. So.
I love the irony of you're an apostate, however, you have the one thing that is coveted amongst all of our people.
Yeah.
It's like have your cake, eat it too kind of deal.
Yeah. Well, I think it is making like and on the flip side, he wants to get back into good graces because it's etched in his soul. Like, no matter where you're born, whatever country you're born in, with whatever religion you're introduced first, most of the time that's etched in you. You have to fight to change those thoughts.
Well, yes, and it brings up this idea of indoctrination versus choice. It brings up the idea of evolution or growth.
Yeah.
You know, this just because you were brought up this way doesn't necessarily mean that you have to continue to behave in this way.
No, but I guarantee you in real life, if you were made to wear your helmet all the time, it's going to take years for you not to wear your helmet, even if you don't believe it anymore. It's just from someone who I came from a crazily religious background. It took decades to get out of my system, you know, and I'm not knocking anyone's thing, but my beliefs changed and mentally I knew differently. I knew I didn't have to wear my helmet all the time, but I felt weird not wearing my helmet all the time, you know? So.
And ironically enough, I was just having this conversation earlier today, not related to Star Wars, but you know, it begs the question of, okay, what is the difference between a religion and a cult?
Yeah, well, one man's religion is another man's cult.
Exactly.
I mean, you know,
there was a certain line from Bo-Katan that really really stuck with me after this episode of, you know, I don't remember how exactly it was, but it was something along the lines of like, our people have been so divided and they've been, you know, we've had these civil wars over nonsense essentially. And it really makes me think like, okay, well, someone's got to budge here then. Like if we're playing towards the unification of everyone, is it okay, are we going to go with the Children of the Watches, you know, ideologies, or are we going to go with everyone else's view of, you know, take the helmet off, leave the helmet on, you know, that whole deal.
I picture soon they'll just have flip open visors.
Like scout troopers?
Yeah. Just flip open your
like Iron Man. They can just take the front off.
You'll have like because like the armorers people are more like the Amish, and Bo-Katan is like they're the Mennonites. You know.
Yeah. Mandoites?
Yeah. But it is John brings up a good point about the cult thing, because, you know, and then there's an internal struggle, and that's what I like about the show, because you can have a nice religious talk about someone without offending anyone. No one's going to be
religion or politics, because you could also say, I mean, patriotism to a certain degree could almost be the same kind of practice that are followed in religions.
Yes.
You know, we have certain phrases that we use, we dress certain ways, we salute certain symbols and that kind of stuff. And I think back to the question of, is it a religion or is it a cult? I think it comes down to who's either asking the question or who's answering it. So if I'm in the group, I could say, oh, this is just a religion, but to the outside, they may call it a cult. And from my perspective to their group, I think theirs is a cult and they think theirs is a religion.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, I've said this before, I felt like Star Wars helped my girls have to deal with hard emotions in a safe space, which I know that word's overused and gets people all worked up, but it lets you practice. Lets you practice grief. You know, like you can have grief for a fictional character. Like, and I've had this with myself, where I can be sad about something and not have to be vulnerable about being sad about something real. You know, like, and you can still have that same grieving process.
And what's interesting about it too, with that idea in mind, even though this is not real, that some folks will take this so so literally or so ferociously that even though it's phony baloney, that folks can get riled up about it.
Oh, yeah.
Don't tell me that it's cool to dress in TK armor. They're space Nazis. Why would you ever do that?
I keep thinking about that question, and I was asked on your podcast when they said about dressing up like the bad guys, because Andor does make you think about like oh man, like if I'm the same group that hangs people in the square, you know what I mean? And that's when you have to revert back to I'm just spacemen.
I'm just a space guy.
I just like the costumes. I don't believe in the philosophy. Like in this day and age, you have to. No, I really don't side with the baby killing Darth Vader. I'm, and
You're a bad guy, John.
Sorry, I had to.
Well, it's and then it did dovetail into the Bad Batch, because we're talking this religion and belief system. So we watched the Bad Batch first. I just listened to Zoe. Zoe's like, someone said watch Bad Batch first. I wish I would have watched the Bad Batch second, because I think the storyline in the Bad Batch could easily be flipped into that apostate cult religious thing.
Well, that's why I was talking about the patriotism kind of stuff. Or even, some folks are so patriotic, and I'm not saying this is good, bad, right, wrong. Some folks are so patriotic that they're willing to lay down their life for country,
right,
and or be willing to take the life of another for country.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we should do it or shouldn't do it. I'm just saying that as an observation. And it doesn't matter what military force you're in, whether you're in the Iranian military, the United States military, the Canadian military, or whatever, you're still choosing to do X, Y, and Z for country.
Yes. Yeah, you have to make some moral choices. And in this, so in my age bracket, I remember when the first Gulf War hit, and there were a lot of people that were in military reserves and in the military, and they're like, wait a minute, what? We got to fight? Because we grew up in a time where you didn't have to worry about that, And if you talk to people my dad's age or my grandfather's age, that you had a different, there was a different thought process before you signed up for the military. Like in the 80s, it was like, oh, you'll pay for my college? Okay, sign me up. What's the worst thing that can happen? So yeah, no, that was, and that episode though, I was totally wrong about that episode when it came to the Bad Batch. I was watching it, and when they first were talking about the Raiders, I thought when they found them, it was going to be all the clones they defected. I thought they were going to find an encampment of clones that just defected from the base.
Ah, okay. And they still didn't identify them, did they? They didn't say what their species was or whatever.
But that was a good one. Though I don't know. I have a feeling that the Bad Batch's next big mission is going to be rescue Crosshair before they put him in one of those robot things. Where they erase his memory and put him in one of those, that sniper thing.
Oh, from a couple episodes ago, the clone conspiracy or whatever.
Well, because they're old parts, like that captain or whatever. They're just
lieutenant.
They're just old pieces of machinery, So like, if you have an old whatever, just put some new parts on it and use it the best you can.
I'm just shocked that they, it took them, we're on episode 12 of the Bad Batch?
I don't know. It's a lot.
I think it's 12.
I mean, it took us 3 months to finally get Crosshair and a little more depth to his story.
Well, I thought that other episode was the solitary clone. I thought that one was pretty deep in the start. That even just the title alone, the solitary clone. And Clem and I talked about this a little bit in politics. Is that sometimes rebellions come because the base needs aren't being met.
Yeah.
For a while, Crosshair's needs were being met by being part of the Empire.
Right.
And, whether it was a sense of belonging or, he definitely had food, shelter, and that sort of stuff. He had the basic needs. And then he had, to a certain degree, a sense of belonging. First, it was with the batch themselves, but then with the larger group. But in that solitary clone episode, that connection to the larger group was kind of slowly being worn away.
Yeah.
And with this last episode, it was as if that's gone now. You're no longer wanted, welcome, needed. And I think that's when he made that drastic decision of essentially rebelling. I mean, his action at the end was, from my perspective, was an act of rebellion.
Well, and I mean, I just think, he thought, and that's a life lesson for all of us. We all think we're that important gear in the factory of whatever we're doing in life, and then we realize that we're just another cog if something, you know what I mean? Like, I see it with my profession. People are teaching, and they teach for like 20, 30 years, and then they retire, and they think that they struggle with retiring because they think, well, what are we? And as soon as they leave, they're forgotten. Like, they're just, okay, here, boom, you're done. Or as soon as someone gets sick, they're like, well, you just see it all the time, unfortunately, for what we commit our life to. And a bigger issue is we find out too late. I don't know if Crosshair figured it out too late. I mean, I think the batch is probably going to save him, I hope. Or one of the dad batchers are going to be very upset.
Well, I wonder if Rex and Cody will be involved.
Yeah. Well, and see, that'll be a good thing to see, because they have a lot of. I mean, I don't know how many seasons of this show they have coming. You know what I mean? But maybe they're going to run this show for a couple more episodes, like seasons. So,
well, if we think about what we predict that they're doing, and here's a couple of things that I know we've kind of talked about it, little pieces here and there. I think they're working to fill in some of the blanks between the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy. Whether we're talking about cloning or we're talking about the things that led to the First Order, and we haven't gotten those things fully flushed out yet. So I could see them doing the Bad Batch for several more seasons just for that reason, or those reasons rather. And it's also starting to show itself in the Mandalorian too. So with Dr. Pershing and so on. So Dr. Pershing, I think, is connected to that weird temple that Crosshair was seen in last in at the very end of this episode.
Now, okay. I was thinking, for me, Cody is one of those characters that I feel like his story has been protected over the years. Like it seems like they skirt around. They'll give us everything except for Cody. Like it's almost seems like either there's a master plan or they're saving him for something else.
Or they just haven't thought about him enough. I mean, the fans find him fascinating and interesting, but maybe because of all these other stories that they've got cooking, that they just haven't found a place for him fully or formally yet. Even though, we've heard the stories about how Cody was supposed to be involved in Obi-Wan.
I got us a guest for tonight. He was having technical issues. This is Justin Taylor. He's the CEO of Garrison Carida. Not the CEO of 501st. That's a different Justin. But we have this Justin. So let me see.
Yeah,
I heard that thing.
Leader of the Legion. So I'm just the commander of our local Garrison Carida, which is
here. He is. Here's Justin. We don't have a picture of you yet. Your camera's not on. You have to enable your camera unless you're worried you'll scare people, then that's fine too.
He's in the witness protection program.
And JT, nope. He's in the witness protection plan from the rebels.
Yeah.
So, but Justin, we all have technical difficulties. Usually the show is at least a half hour late because of my technical difficulties every week. So, it is not.
Can you guys hear me at least?
We can hear you. Yeah, you have that very good radio voice.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it, gentlemen.
So I have trooped with Justin for years, and then he went away and did military stuff, and then came back, and he's our CO. So Justin, I don't know if you've met Ken or John, but Ken is with the Mando Mercs.
No, yeah, Ken. I think I've met you before.
It's definitely quite possible. I have that face that people forget.
John is the peculiar one that I met. I met John on TikTok of all places, and he is now in the Ohio Garrison as Kylo Ren, and his father is Krennic in the Ohio Garrison.
Oh, fantastic. Well, nice to meet you guys.
What costume do you have, Justin? And we're just
I started out with a Shadow Trooper TX. Being as though I was in special operations back in the day, my early years of my military service, I wanted to go with Spec Ops, and I just thought Shadow Trooper was just an incredible costume. And I also have a Biker Scout, which I absolutely love. And, I guess based on how I'm feeling is how I want to troop. The Shadow's more business, and the Biker Scout's more or less a little more playful with everyone else, if you will.
I think I've trooped with you more in your Biker Scout.
Yeah, it's a little more forgiving and doesn't pinch in all the wrong places as much as the Shadow Trooper does. So
this week we were talking about the Mandalorians in general. We just started talking about the shows, but before we get to that, you are working on a Mandalorian costume for your daughter, correct?
Yes, we were working on Sabine Wren. Currently have everything spray painted on that metal silver base, and we're looking to build up the layers based upon your advice.
Yes.
Just go with layer after layer after layer.
So which version of Sabine are you doing?
I think it's season 3 is the one that we're looking to do. That seemed to be my daughter's favorite, so that's what we're going to go with. It's a matter of finding the soft goods right now at this point.
Well, Wendy Darling, that's my advice.
Okay,
Wendy Darling is who out in West Virginia. She's in the West Virginia Garrison.
Wendy Darling. Okay.
She just did my Vader inner robe for my Vader.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I apologize. The camera's not working on our laptop right now. We're still trying to.
If you just depending on if you're in Chrome, there might be a little camera up in your URL bar with a slash through it. If you click that, it just depends.
I'll have to take a look at that. Yeah, I apologize here. It took a little while to get on. I just got done with a command call meeting, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the Garrison. We talk. So if you haven't listened to us, we talk mainly Star Wars, but we're all costumers at heart, and I just figured it'd be nice to have you on, just to talk about the Garrison or costume building, or if you have any thoughts. Did you see the new Mando yet? Yes, watched it. It ended probably 3 minutes or so before my command call, and I was like, "Come on, hurry up, be over, but don't be over because I want more."
So what's your thoughts?
I loved it. Finally seeing the Mythosaur. Oh my! I looked at my wife was watching it. We both looked at each other and screamed at the same time in excitement.
Now, did you meet your wife at a troop, or was your first date a troop, if I remember correctly?
It was, man. Good memory. Yeah, it was. We actually met on. Troop? Yeah, we met on a dating website, and I had said something she thought was funny in the comments, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm a Star Wars fan." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I've heard that before."
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Oh, well, my midichlorian count is really, really high." I was like, "Oh, okay, interesting. What else do you have?" So I kind of asked her a bunch of really deep questions, and she nailed them all out of the park. Only to find out that, yeah, she is an enormous Star Wars fan, probably bigger than me. She has the equivalent of around 275 different Star Wars novels, a lot of it expanded universe. So her knowledge is deep. And she actually
Ken.
yeah.
We got to come on and talk about the Boba Fett trilogy then.
Yeah. She actually whooped my butt on Star Wars Trivial Pursuit more than once, so I don't like to admit that too often. I won once, but I think she let me. Whatever.
Well, there's only 3 people listening, so you're safe here. You're safe with us.
we vary from 3 to, sometimes we're just talking to ourselves.
Hey, that's fine. But our first troop together was the Millersville Parade in 2015. She ended up squiring for that event. I can't remember what costume I had. It might have been the Biker Scout.
Yeah, I think you were in Biker Scout, if I remember correctly.
She jumped right in and was helping everybody with their costumes, particularly Vader. And one of my friends, Jesse, he has a Republic Commando.
Yep.
And I think you were there, Hinton. You were there.
I was there.
Yeah. So what drew me in was seeing the smile on her face that entire time, helping suit up troopers and then just helping the squire and taking pictures in that parade.
Yep.
And as soon as I seen that smile, I was like, that's the smile I want to wake up to every single morning. So
yeah, it's always weird because when I first started trooping, and my wife used to squire a lot when the girls were little, and you'd see your wife's hand go sticking in odd places in Darth Vader helping him with his suit. You have to have a lot of trust in your spouse and the Dark Lord to just let your wife adjust Vader.
Yeah. Particularly that TK
crotch
strap.
Yeah,
that's the no zone.
Or the Boba thong. I mean.
Oh yeah. So, but no, I'm happy for you because I just know like John's in the same boat where he just started trooping with his dad, and you're trooping with the family. It's just I've been doing it since 2007, and it makes it so much more fun. And then we have the movie coming up, and I put Justin in the group to possibly bring his Biker Scout. I would recommend bringing your Biker Scout.
Okay.
But I don't know if you've seen any of our pictures, but it's usually a pretty fun day. I mean,
if you like Star Wars stuff.
stuff. Yeah.
I mean, it's okay. It's not Star Trek, but
Yeah, well, and but Matt's pretty fun to do. Like, I mean, is this our 3rd time shooting some of these scenes?
Yep.
So we're but I almost broke my neck because he forgets that we can't see. He's like, "Oh, it's stormtroopers just walking." I stepped in a hole, so
I was right behind you for that, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna end poorly."
Yeah, and John gets the record. He drove from Ohio to be in that, and Ken drove from New Jersey to be the clapper boy.
And boom mic guy.
And boom mic man.
Boom
you had the pink shorts this time, right?
Kudos to you guys for doing that. That's awesome that you drove all the way to Lancaster for that. Yeah, I've seen those pictures on Facebook, and I was always intrigued as to what you guys were doing. Matter of fact, I had some friends that aren't relevant to the Garrison at all. Hey, man, I think they're filming a new Star Wars movie. I'm like, no. No one's filming a movie. Like, you sure? I seen a C-3PO there, and it looked really cool, man. I was like, I know that guy, but it's accurate.
And that's why it's not we're not digging in any of the costuming groups, but we ask everyone that even remotely has something Star Wars come out, because you know as well as I do when you're doing an official troop, I don't know if we could ask our people in costume to stand around in costume for 8 hours, so we try to make it as casual as possible, and we don't have anyone to die though, because Zach he would just fall over in his armor on command. Like, they would just yell bang and he would fall over dead. So if I fall down, I'm not getting up. So.
And I still haven't had it confirmed whether or not he has vertigo or not. If that's the reason he just collapses so easily.
He's one of those falling asleep sheep, where they just fall asleep. But
when they get scared, they just tip over.
Yeah. Well, we have some Mandos coming. And I think the Mandos, like I said, I think they're going to film with their helmets off. And then some Tuscans are coming. So we might have Tuscans wearing Mando buckets to make it look cool in the background. Who knows? But it should be a fun time. And we're here every Wednesday, Justin. So if you get bored off your command calls, or you're done laying down the law, you can always just come here and talk Mando.
Yeah, too easy, man. I think I'd like to make a weekly event of that. That would be great.
Yeah, jump in because our show is based on the inflatable Falcon. Have you ever seen the giant inflatable bouncy house that looks like a Millennium Falcon?
Have you posted pictures of that up on Facebook and little snippets on Instagram?
Yes.
I've seen part of it. Yeah.
If you know anything about me, I over post everything. You know, what my favorite story from Celebration Anaheim was we met this woman that was selling the headpieces for Ahsoka. This woman had this beautiful headpiece, and I said, "Hey, where'd you get that?" And she said, "Oh, I make them. I'm K&M Industries." And I said, "Oh, I ordered one of yours. I probably sent you a bunch of messages." She said, "Oh, you're Mike, aren't you?"
Yikes.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I've badgered enough Lucasfilm people and other people to get them on my kids' show. So I'm known or infamous or famous in certain places. So.
And just so that you're aware, Justin, if you really want to get in good on this show, then you need to come prepared with your favorite vegan recipe.
Oh yeah. We talked
or your favorite car repair story too. That's
car repair stories. What else have we talked about off topic? We are the best at going off topic.
Random family stories like famous relatives.
Oh yeah. Famous relatives. Oh, I forgot. I did forget to bring my movie from my Indiana Jones fan film from the 1970s or 80s.
Yeah, so even though we claim to be a Star Wars show, we veer off into all sorts of randomness.
We've talked about Trek before too. Let's not forget about that.
Yeah,
that's a show. It's particularly Next Generation. It's just I don't know, something about that show. It's really easygoing. It's something you can always put on the background of TV when you clean, and I don't know. It's very relaxing for me to watch Next Gen stuff.
I just had a pain in the neck brother-in-law who liked it, and so I have to always get past that. I'm an old kermit. I just like everything Star Wars. I can't think of anything because John, you mentioned this week about the Taika Waititi Star Wars film.
Oh, he wants to star in the movie he directs.
Yeah, but I love his stuff. There's nothing. His stuff is goofy, and I know the Thor film made people upset. But his What We Do in the Shadows, or where he's Blackbeard, if he just let him be an oddball, like let him be Hondo. Let Tycho be Hondo.
Does he direct What We Do in the Shadows?
He did the original movie was from him.
Oh, okay.
And then it's based off, and then he was in it a few times. But the original screenplay, the movie, which isn't as good as the TV show, but it was based on that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the TV show. I think I think that TV show is pretty funny.
Right. So I'm just saying, make him Hondo. Like I personally want Johnny Depp as Hondo, but that's just me.
See, I like the Thor movies, but that's about it. Like I saw Jojo Rabbit, and I was like, ugh.
Oh, I love Jojo Rabbit. Come on, imaginary Hitler.
I liked it at first, but it when I first saw it, I thoroughly enjoyed it. But then I went back and watched it again. I'm like, this doesn't hold up as well as I thought it did.
Yeah, well, I think that was one of the first films that Zoe was big into when she went to film school. So she kind of helped me appreciate it more. I mean, it's just a style, I'm still holding out for anything Star Wars. And like ship my kid off and she starts working for them, then that means I can get closer to retirement and work for her.
See, I think my favorite Taika thing was Free Guy.
Oh yeah.
See, I didn't care for Free Guy either.
John, you're you'll keep us sane. You'll keep us grounded to Star Wars.
Yeah, he's keeping us humble with it.
See, I figured that the youth would have liked Free Guy.
John's an old soul.
Yeah. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. An old soul?
Oh, okay. Yeah. My headphones were fuzzing in and out. I heard something else.
But yeah, I
I think I know what you think he said.
I might have said that. No. But no, yeah, I mean we'll have some armor building of some sort. I have to keep my blinders on because I have another costume in mind for Safi, and I'm not even speaking it out loud because I got to finish Vader and I got to finish Ahsoka.
Vader, Ahsoka, Din.
No, it's Ahsoka. No, it's Ahsoka, Vader. I have C-3PO in the works. I have to finish that. I have to finish Commander Keeley because I got and then I just got the visor molded for Cody.
Nice.
I just got so now because I have the molds for the old Watchtower helmets. So I got the visor. I got a mold. I just finished making a mold so I can make a Cody now.
You still don't have to finish Keeley.
I do have to finish Keeley. I know you want me to sell it to you.
I'm just saying. I mean, you're clearing
Choices,
all
man.
the stuff
It's all about
out.
choices.
I think you should buy the Razor Crest from me. And I
I
have.
don't
I
have
did
any
find.
use for the Razor Crest. That's
I did-
Ken's Razor Crest.
Oh yeah, Ken, you want to buy the Razor Crest? And I do have the I found that Obi-Wan for you too, Joe.
I'd buy that for $1.
I understood that reference.
That's
But no, with costume building, it's not costume building unless you have something sitting that's yet to be finished. There's always something, because I know I have Clone Commander Thyre that I'm currently building.
animated. Is it animated or live action?
No, it would be the live action version of Thyre. Nice. I like that bucket, man.
I printed this 3 years ago, and I have
like
not.
old
I've
hat.
done so many other things, and I haven't even gone
See?
back to this.
You're just like
You're not a costume builder until you have a costume that's just sitting there waiting to be finished. So on top of that, I have a TK which I submitted but got kicked back because hand plates were too big. So I got to find some hand plates that I guess are a little bit smaller, and also a Nova Trooper Elite,
nice.
which is a 2-in-1 with the Shadow Trooper. The Nova Trooper Elite has the gold stripe that comes down the helmet and then goes down the shoulder bells and all the way down the right and left side. And the sniper plate is gold, along with a gold Polderon. So and a Sand Trooper backpack that's all black.
Oh, okay. What size are your hand plate? What kit is that? Do you know? Is it a Nova?
I got that kit. Oh man, I got this kit years ago. It was from like 7 years ago. It was from TK UK, and it was one of these buy one get one. And
Oh yeah.
So I ended up getting these two different kits. I figured, well, hell, if the one don't work, I can always make it a zombie death trooper or something. But it's passable. It's just the hand covers were just entirely too big, and I guess I agree with that.
Was it easier just to get bigger hands?
Yeah, that would be the solution.
Just put 6 pairs of gloves on.
Yeah, just get. It's now in proportion. It fits. It works.
They
and
make fun of you if you have inhumanly large hands.
Yeah,
or freakishly small hands. I mean,
no, I don't got small hands. I don't know. I got average man hands. That I hit multiple buttons at the same time by accident.
Well, if you send me the measurements, I have a pair of soft hand plates that I'm going to mold to make more soft hand plates.
Oh, okay.
Slightly smaller.
Okay, yeah. I was looking at Trooper Bay, and then I was like, I'll just wait. I had some other stuff going on, but yeah, I'll definitely hit you up on that.
If you want hard plastic ones, it's you're talking pennies.
Yeah.
So.
And as far as costume building goes, you can't get discouraged if you get deferred by your GML, which, if anyone doesn't know, it's the Garrison member liaison, and they're the ones who approve or deny your costumes and then send it up to the Legion. Yep. And, they're essentially just trying to put the best product out there available to people for the public to see. So that's the way I kind of look at it. And that's what was told to me. And it made sense, and you just can't really get discouraged by those things.
And we've said this on this show before, that that's what makes the group, the standards is what makes the group, all the groups good. It's just, I think sometimes people think, and we know this isn't true, but I think the perception is that there's certain people that revel in not passing people. And we know that's not true, but it's just there's always that one bad apple somewhere that makes someone think it's that way. Because John's dad got through. Your dad got through the first time.
Yeah, I was waiting for a pause. I was gonna say I'm more discouraged that he didn't get kicked back on his first try. So, A bit of pride on my part that I was able to put it together in just one go, but also it's not fair. He needs to know that hardship.
He's gonna have to have a hardship. I got put in by Pantalano. I forget her first name.
Lisa
Pantalano. Yep. I got sent my pictures in, and she said your Under Armour sticker is showing. So I colored it with marker and just took a picture of that corner, and I was in. So
yeah, she dinged my Shadow Trooper up. Actually, it wasn't bad. What happened is I had the same Under Armour top and bottom, but every time we took the photo, it looked like the top portion of the Under Armour was like a navy blue compared to the black. And man, I must have resubmitted that photo 10 times. I'm like, I swear it matches. I even laid it out, but for some reason that top kept showing navy blue. And
that's why you let Marty take your pictures.
What's that?
That's why you let Marty take your pictures.
Oh yeah, man, true story. Yeah, I don't even know if I had met him then. That was back in
stand here, because I helped Andy Wolf with his, and it was literally we just stood him in a different position because of the way the lighting was hitting.
Yeah, that was 2005, so that was a while back. But I ended up getting the scuba suit or whatever it was, and then that worked with the Biker Scout. That was a first time go, so I was pretty pleasantly surprised with that.
Yeah, I'm hoping I have that kind of luck with our din once we get it done.
Yes.
That's such a solid costume to build, though. It's so much fun.
Well, we're building the old version, the original, the
Pinto armor.
The Pinto armor.
That's a good analogy on that one.
Huh?
I said that's a good analogy on that one.
Did you ever hear a story about the Pinto armor?
No. Go ahead. Let me hear.
He had a wrecked Pinto in his front yard. And it was like the colors scheme of multiple colors, and that's what that armor reminded him of. So Brendan Wayne always calls it the Pinto armor.
Oh, fun fact. Nice.
Yeah, and then Justin Solmfeld showed me where to get the undersuit. He's like, yeah, this is what I use. And I'm like, well, if it's good enough for the CO, then
yeah,
I'm good.
I think that's what I'm going to ask for my birthday is the
undersuit.
Yeah.
Pro cosplay or one of those is, but you have to order it big just because their sizing is off.
Yeah, I should have gone up one size with this thing, but
yeah,
I used their little chart, and even their little chart didn't seem.
Well, I learned that from when I ordered Zoe a jacket years ago, and then I ordered the Fennec Shand. Fennec Shand, my kids are skinny as rails, and I got a medium, and it's just fits them perfect. Where normally they would wear a small. And I just bought the Fennec for when we did the Book of Boba Fett premiere at Penn Cinema.
Well, that's approved now, isn't it? The Fennec.
I think it's approvable. My kids, mine, Safi is in the droid builders because she's a droid, which makes no sense, but whatever. I guess she can get 000 approved in 501st too. But I don't think my kids are in the 501st yet. I have an animated tie that I want to put it up here soon for Zoe.
But speaking back on the Mandalorian, I'm not sure how much you guys had covered from that. When Din was initially flying onto Mandalore and he kind of panned around with the ship that he has, was that the city where Duchess Satine was? It kind of looked like a dome, or was it was Duchess Satine?
So, yeah, yep.
Yeah, that was Sundari, the capital city.
And I was on a podcast Monday, and they were theorizing that could it be the armor is Satine, that she survived, and she just doesn't want anyone to know, so she started a cult where you can't take your helmet off.
Ooh, I
don't
that.
think it's true, but that's usually Ken got me all messed up on Andor theories, and I looked like a fool with my other podcast friends now.
It's always Ken.
It was. You have to admit, it was a good theory.
That was a good theory, but
and to a certain point of view, it was accurate.
That's true.
Although her actually being alive is not true or accurate, but
no, she
did show up in the last episode.
Yeah.
So my theory, Justin, just so you know, I had theorized that Marva was when they took Marva's body out, that she was really alive and was going to show up in the last episode, and we now know she wasn't alive, but her hologram showed up.
Okay. I like fan theories like that. I see so many of them for Marvel, for the MCU anyway.
Oh yeah,
And which I didn't see Quantum Mania yet. I'm still waiting to see that.
it's good. I mean, I used to own a comic book store, so I have to be careful with my comic bookdom because sometimes I get a little preachy on like what was in the comic book, so I try to not be that guy. So like when they're like, but
I think they stay with the comics somewhat, but they're creating their own universe.
Yeah,
with
well,
a different spin on the story.
You have so many comics, like you couldn't stay in the lines because there's 40. It has to be somewhat new, and that's why I like Star Wars. Star Wars has such a limited amount of stuff that they can explore new stuff and still make us like it.
Yeah, and not have to continually kind of, I wouldn't say regurgitate the Skywalker saga, but just keep pounding that and throwing that in our faces all the time.
Right.
Anything could be Star Wars, and the sky's the limit, if you will, with creating new content on that.
Yep.
And I think they showed that big time with Andor.
Showed
that you don't need blasters, lightsabers. You don't need the Force to have something be Star Wars. And I think that's what made that series special, at least to me anyway. Yeah.
Well, and then for us costumers, when you get that variety, you can get like I never picture myself doing a costume without my face being covered. I like having my face covered. It's to protect the small children. Just they don't have to look at me. But there's so many costumes that people that might not want to wear a helmet. I can. The longer you sit in that costume, I'm going to wind up buying that. But then, Ken, I got to buy 3 of them.
$30, man. $30.
I mean, 90. I got 3 of us. But I think I want to do the inaugural run.
Who said that? You're going to need someone to take pictures of you. You're going to need someone to record your TikToks. So get your own costume and run with the other prisoners.
I'll take my 360 camera and I'll run, and then I'll just
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Well, Zoe will be in either Ahsoka or Sabine, so she doesn't need a third costume.
Or both at the same time. I mean, she could.
Right.
Because you're bringing both costumes with you to London.
Yeah, I got to just figure out what'll fit on the plane. That's the.
And then how are you doing that? Are you shipping your costumes over, or are you taking them on the plane?
I'm not taking mine. Zoe's taking Ahsoka, which is pretty much we can fit it all in a suitcase. We fit Sabine all in a suitcase. We just carried the bucket on the carry-on.
It'll all fit in the plane. The question is, how much are you willing to pay for it to all fit on the plane?
That's true. And the only thing I worry about is the Sabine blasters going through.
Oh yeah,
I might print a second pair for her, paint them all up, but leave them in pieces. And then when we get there,
we glue them together.
And just glue them all together. And then when we leave, I'll just give them to someone. Hey, you want some Sabine blasters? And they leave them in England. And then if Zoe, I've had this discussion with Zoe. If Judah offers her a job in Prague when we're there, she might not come home with us. Because he's always talking about helping her out and stuff like that. And if the art director from Andor is friends with Judah, and once we get Zoe's panel time, he said he's going to ask if she will be her panel guest. The art director of Andor. We shall see. That's all up in the air, but it will be streaming from. However, I don't even understand the time difference at the moment. I'm just trying to get through the next 3 weeks.
Isn't it 8 hours? Isn't that the difference?
I don't know. I just know I got to fly to South
Carolina,
one of the Carolinas, and then fly to England. And all I know is I get there at noon on Thursday, and then I go to my hotel and I'm there, and then I have to just.
I think it took me about 8 hours to fly to Frankfurt. But that was military class, so it wasn't exactly the best flight ever.
No, I don't know. They just pack you in like sardines. A military class is probably better because when we went to LA, man, I felt like cattle. I was just like,
well, it was weird because we were allowed to take our M4s on the plane.
Oh, okay.
And so that's really odd. You put them underneath your seat, and they all have to face towards the rear of the plane. The barrel does. so they all have to face in a certain direction. But yeah, you're allowed to take all that stuff on the plane with you, all your knives, all your guns, whatever else you want. and that's a really long flight. That's to Frankfurt, Germany, and then to Kazakhstan, and then to Afghanistan, and oh my goodness, the first time it was Germany, Italy, Kuwait, and then we drove to Iraq.
Yeah, well, this is like I had to get affordable flights. I had to leave Wednesday night, fly to North or South Carolina. I think I looked it up last week when we were talking about it. And then we have a little layover, and then we go straight to London and get there at noon. And then I have to take, according to all the people from London, they said to take the subway or the tube, as they said. And so then I take that to my hotel, and then I don't know exactly what the hotel is, but I got the room from Chris Freed, and it was inexpensive because I didn't plan on going till, what was that, a month ago, Ken?
Roughly speaking,
it's like a month ago
when you got the notice about being selected for the podcast stage.
Yeah, when Zoe got the notice for the podcast stage, I had to scramble and get the kids visas and all that stuff. So,
hey John, who do you want Mike to take pictures with while he's there?
Dad,
George Lucas, if you see him.
Oh, George Lucas, yeah.
Or the costumer who goes as George Lucas.
Yes,
that too.
Well, I want to. Because I know John from the Dad Batch, so I want to get with the Dad Batch podcasters. I'm like, right now, I'm more interested in podcasters, and then whatever stage we can. Again, we can't pick our panels until the day before because of being the tickets we have. But yeah, I mean, there's a couple people, like I said, the Judah and his guys that Matt Martin. I texted him today because he's going, so I'm going to hang with Matt for a while, and.
Tell them about the Georgies.
The Georgies? Oh, yeah, Justin, have you watched the George? Oh, Matt, but Justin, have you watched the Georgies?
No, I don't think I have.
That's our award show. If you look on my feed, I'm sure it's there somewhere. But we did it
several times.
Show. And we would love to have you. You could be a guest possibly on the Georgies, or submit something for a Georgies award. We could have a cosplay award on the Georgies.
Yeah,
it would make the rest of the hosts be like, "What are you talking about?" But we should.
Are there like categories for the Georgies, or?
Oh, we kind of make them up. Like, what was the first category that we was?
The first category was the Will. Oh no, the
Tim with two M's.
The Tim with two M's, the character in Andor who dated outside of his or her league.
Yeah, that was the first category, and Tim with two M's won it.
Is this like the Dundee sort of
similar? Yeah.
Oh, it's better than that. It's the Georgies.
But it's the Georgies. If you have 2 hours that you never want to get back.
Well, even if you don't do the 2 hours, the first 12 minutes are fantastic.
Yes.
Because it has the intro. Yeah. So just so you're aware, we also have another show called The Forces Behind Star Wars. And this year for National Podcast or Star Wars Podcast Day on February 7th, we recorded a special episode of the best of 2022. And we called it the Georgie Awards.
Okay.
It was the most fun I've had podcasting, probably followed by a close second of when we filmed or we taped Shakespeare. Were you at that one, Ken?
I was on that one.
Yeah, we did a lot. The Shakespeare books of Star Wars, we did a cold live reading of that on CreaCast. I haven't done a CreaCast episode in a while. I'm trying to get Colin back in. But yeah, we did a cold live reading. That was I think that was that right before the pandemic?
Oh, it was definitely before the pandemic. Yeah. That's for sure.
I still have a CreaCast
podcast, and it didn't work out that way.
But yeah, I still have a CreaCast patch. I have it on my my sort of like repair bag, if you will.
Nice.
I got a lot of members ask me, "What's CreaCast?" I was like, it's an old podcast from.
It's still alive because I still pay the bill for the hosting, which I just finally got my Anchor one. I didn't have to pay this year. So we'll bring it back in one way, shape, or form. But these guys know I'm always overly biased towards my kids' podcast.
No kidding.
But I'm trying. John has a podcast too called the Beskar Bucket.
Right behind. I see that.
So we're a bunch of. But yeah, Justin. We'd love to have you talk more costuming and Star Wars PR, and because the costuming groups, and we represent. We don't have
The
any
Lollipop Guild
here, do we? But Zoe's at Rebel Legion, so we have somewhat related to all of the costuming groups, right? Or
Yes.
we don't have any Saber Guild people.
Nope.
I'm sure you can get some if you really wanted.
Yeah, well, Zoe's working. That's what her Ahsoka.
Well, we know folks who are in the Saber Guild. Does that count?
I always bug Sal, but he's working. But yeah, I got.
Oh, nice.
These are whatever project number 87. I'm learning how to solder. Though my Dejeric table taught me how to solder, so now I know how to solder after making my Dejeric table. So,
a whole new world.
And I guess I got to solder my Vader lights too.
I thought you did that already on the belt
I put
boxes.
the lights in. I got it all. One belt box I lost. It's just in this mess somewhere. I'm like, it's around here somewhere. So, and I might spring for the metal buckle, the 3D buckle.
You've been talking about that for weeks.
I know, but I just all my money is like, I'm like petrified of going to England and not having enough money. So everything.
So why don't you wait till you get back from England?
Well, that's right. I probably will.
Or buy it in England.
Or
I'm sure you'll
Boom,
find it.
there you go.
Or if
There you go.
someone buys my barge, my sail barge.
Or if Ken finally ponies up and puts his money where his mouth is and buys that Razor Crest.
There you go, Ken. You need that.
Well, as soon as I get that droid probe.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I have IG-11 in the garage too. I'm just like the Mandalorian. I have a whole bunch of IG-11 parts that need put together.
Just no memory chip.
No memory chip, and
like now, did that seem like a lost cause? Like he wanted IG-11 for this one specific purpose, to take a atmospheric sample, and like, is he going to go back and really put that much effort into that death robot?
Yeah, I don't. At first, I thought if you would have asked me that before this episode, I would have been like, definitely this. I would have thought this episode he was going to see what's her face to get that part. But then after seeing this episode, he doesn't really need that droid anymore.
No, so trying to even having that scene, trying to revive him, just seems to be, I don't know, it's just.
Well, it could be the
irrelevant at this
MacGuffin.
point.
It's the thing that they were, it's the thing that led to the other thing that caused the event to happen that changed the world.
The McMuffin?
Well, and it could be just to have
The egg
Babu and his
McMuffin.
people. And it could be Babu and his people on there to,
But so let's talk about Babu and his people in that scene for a moment. First of all, there were 4 puppets in that scene.
Yep.
The 3 Babus and Grogu. Then there's a character in a full helmet who you can't even see his face. So there's no visible human beings in that scene at all. And to make it even cooler and funnier, you have a puppet hugging another puppet, speaking a language that only some of them understand.
It was easy.
Bad Baby. That was hands down hilarious.
But I mean, and what if that scene was just put in for that? Like, what if they're like, because sometimes I feel like Favreau and Filoni just walk around the back lot and they're like, well, hey, we haven't used that for a while. You know what I mean? Like,
or ever did you guys got the picture of that yellow helmet that I sent you, right? What is that to?
Yeah,
is that to a different droid that we've never seen before?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like all those Mandalorian helmets that look like John's workroom and my workroom. They just took pictures of all my that's every 3D printer person's room with print fails. So yeah, I just wonder if that storyline was to throw us off, for the IG-11.
Perhaps, yeah. I don't know. Just seeing it crawl across the floor though, it just put me right to Terminator.
Yeah.
Instantly, I was like, "Well, that looks quite familiar right there."
And he shot like a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
Well, and you have John, who is a Star Wars fan but a film fan, and you have Filoni, who's a Star Wars fan and film fan, but then Filoni's also like he's like a little deeper in like the lore just from his time working with, Lucas and stuff. So you get to play with all those toys. Why not throw an IG? Like you threw IG-11. To me, IG-11 initially in the first series was that draw in for the old folks that maybe didn't like the new movies. So you give them, well, we're not going to give him IG-88, but he looks like IG-88.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're accurate with that.
We're not going to give him Forlom. We're going to give him that guy that looks like Forlom.
Yes.
And so, like, I personally wish if they wouldn't have blown up the Razor Crest, they could have put IG-11's chip in Zero, and you could have brought Zero back. But he got blown up with the Razor Crest.
That was a damn shame the Razor Crest ate it.
That
I like that chip. I thought it was iconic.
They blew that up. Was that the day I ordered the stupid Razor Crest? They blew it up. I think it was the day after I ordered it, and the day my Nerf pulse rifle showed up. So like the two things I just spent more money than I should have spent were just blown up in front of me.
Yeah, I think you probably just heard the sad trombone sound.
Yep. Or the world's smallest violin, John.
Wait.
Bring that out. See, we're professional here. We have
props.
Here we go. Look at that. We need the world's smallest microphone to pick it up. But yeah, I mean, it's just neat how they recycle stuff. Like we were talking earlier about the pistol that none of the stormtroopers use. Now you see that pistol everywhere. Like the Death Troopers use it, stuff like that.
Well, I think it might have been Favreau said that they brought out these characters because they were the toys that they played with.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Still got an echo, John?
Maybe. Nope.
Let's see. Is it on my side?
It's probably my earpiece.
Oh, okay.
I keep playing around with it, earplugs and earpieces, and this mic is, I think, too strong. Or I just talk.
So I think John was also saying that these were the toys that their big brothers didn't want to play with anymore, so they got stuck with them.
Yep. Oh yeah, like even with Rebels, Star Wars Rebels, they brought back that stupid transport. That was that was the toy you got if there was nothing left in the store.
Well, Filoni himself brought back the Blurg. The Blurg was in the Ewok movies.
Yeah.
And he put it in Rebels and then brought it in to the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So it's like 3 layers of nerdiness.
Because that was the Ryloth. Was that the Ryloth episode he brought the Blurg in?
Yep.
Man, I know way too much stuff about names like that. I can't remember half my students' names, but I can remember Ryloth. I called a kid Hunter today after watching. Did
he have a face tattoo?
The kid's name is Tanner, and I called him Hunter because it was first thing in the morning. I just got done coming from watching the Bad Batch. I was like, they probably thought, Mr. Hinton's getting senile.
I wasn't too impressed with this season's Bad Batch episodes.
Yeah. And if I don't know if you have listened, how many podcasts you listen to, Justin, but if you get a chance to listen to the Dad Batch, have you heard of them?
No, I haven't heard of them.
They do a very good podcast, and they're 4 guys that dress up like the Bad Batch.
Oh,
5, isn't it?
5, yes, 5. Right. I always forget about Crosshair. I'm sorry.
Well, he is a solitary clone.
Yes. So how do we wrap up our Mando episode?
I think we wrap up by saying that next episode, we're going to talk about the Mandalorian mercs.
Yes. We'll do a Mando mercs. So, Justin, you can jump in and tell us what you know about the mercs. Do you have any Mando costumes?
I don't have any Mando costumes. I would
Other than
love to
Speed.
build one. Garrison Carida is really starting to develop a fantastic relationship with our local Mando mercs. And every event that we've been doing, we've been sending invites out to them as well. So we've been going pretty much hand in hand with every single event since I've took over in command so far this year. So
yeah,
really excited. I love working with them. Great group.
Yeah, the
Well, that's cool, 'cause I'm in that group.
Yeah, the Mando mercs have come a long way. Like the first not good merc I saw years and years ago,
it was basically like a Stanley tote cut in armor shape, and they've stepped up. Like right now, it's the Mando Mercs time to shine. Like was it Chicago when all the Mercs were sitting down on the floor, and when Filoni and them came out, you just saw it had to be probably 100 Mercs with their helmets, just shaking their helmets and stuff. And it was funny because Zoe was not in then at the time, and she was quite jealous. So,
but yeah, they have. I know our local Mando Mercs have. They have a really good con set up where it's almost like a bounty hunter tent and a little screen that flashes up with different bounties on their screen, and a cage. I think they can like capture you and throw you in a cage or whatever. So they have a lot of good stuff going on, and they're dual members too. So we have a lot of them in our garrison.
Yeah. That's nice. Like I said, the Mando Merc and the Mando Mercs were good to Zoe. I think it was last week here, or I said it somewhere. The Mando Mercs showed up and did a live induction for her, which was so cool. So,
yeah, jumping on their main forums actually really helped with doing a lot of research for Sabine. So they had great content on there. Essentially a CRL that they had.
Yep.
So yeah, I really enjoyed going through that.
Dude, I built my first Sabine. There was like 3 in the whole world, and I bugged the crap out of all 3 of them. I was taking pictures of Zoe's first blasters were cut out of blocks of wood. So I was like measuring her hands. I was like, okay, the cartoon hand is this much bigger than the blaster, and they were all scaled to get that right, But when your daughter gets Sabine, I have Safi as a Ketsu.
Sweet.
So she can do some photos with Ketsu too.
I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to working with you over at the Cliffs then as well.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. Like I said, Matt gets and then we'll end with this, I guess, and then we'll do. But Matt gets us the porta potty, which doesn't seem like a big deal until you're in armor all day. But he gets the picnic area open for us, so we don't have to walk that mile back to the cliffs.
Okay, nice.
He hooks us up, so hopefully no rain and weather's nice, and we won't have. Hopefully, there's no wedding photography going on or camping. Didn't we have wedding photography going on the one time?
The second time we did. The first time we showed up there in the morning, and there were kids that had been camping on the dunes overnight.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it should be a good time. But yeah, Justin, thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was nice meeting you guys. It really, really was. Yeah. I look forward. I'll jump on next week as well, and hopefully by then,
camera working so people can see you.
Yeah, we'll get our browser updated here so you guys can see my beautiful smiling face.
Yeah. Here, well, you get to watch our outro. So when I turn this on, it'll turn the volume off. This is a treat in and of itself.
Okay.
Well, you look the part, but let's see some of your moves.
Free and it feels so right. Oh, time to do the things I like. Gonna see a princess, everything's alright. Oh, no job but an answer to. Ain't a fixture in the palace zoo. No, and since the carbonites off me, I'm living life now that I'm free. Yeah, time to get myself together. Now I got myself together. Now I made it through the weather. Better days are gonna get better. I'm so happy.